This is the part where I spit it all out and you decide what you think of me. I'm not trying to be complicated, I'm never waiting to get the last laugh. But I've been handing out.
So many people ask me why I wrote the book, Help That Child. And, I look back to sometime this year, actually in January, when I scrolled through quite a lot of social media platforms. And what I saw there, you get parents questioning, punitive measures meted out on their children. For example, I remember quite vividly a parent who had, posted a photograph of her child who had been thoroughly beaten up in school, and the child had marks all over the body. And contrary to what you would think or believe, a lot of people actually rose up to the defense of the teacher and the school that meted that action, with people, quoting words like quoting biblical texts like spare the rod, spoil the child, and all of that. So I started to jot down my responses. I wanted it to be a very long response, as they would say, a robust response, to explain why aversive punishments shouldn't be used, on children, and understanding that, behaviors are caused by several reasons, but first and foremost, every behavior is communication. So I started to write this down basically as bullet points, what I wished to discuss on the platforms. And as I wrote, it just expanded. It became a chapter, then it became a book.
We should take our time to stop and think about the children, where they are and how they're living. Food, shelter, and education. Their love is what they miss.
I wrote this book because I wanted to provide a different perspective, to parents and to teachers as regards behaviors, by children or by teenagers, understanding that these behaviors occur because there is an inner need that needs to be communicated. There has to be something either in the environment or within, the individual that needs to be communicated. So the rise in abuse, the rise in the use of abusive methods in the school community, even amongst parents, even in the churches, it was surprising to see that teachers believe that you cannot be a teacher except you wield the cane, except you have to hit somebody on the head, except you have to call them stupid, and all of that. So we have on the one hand, the parents, the teachers, the adults who think that every behavior needs to be deterred, using aversive means, hitting the child, making the child to kneel on hard surfaces, inflicting injuries and all of that. We even hear parents tell the child that I will kill you today, words like that. So we have those who believe that aggression should be the response for every challenging or problem behavior. And on the other hand, we have those who seem to believe that, okay, well, I don't want to be aggressive to my child, so I will just allow the child to be a child. So we also have an increase or a rise in permissiveness amongst parents, among teachers. When I walk around, sometimes I go for my classroom rounds, or when I consult in other schools, I see quite a lot of rowdiness in the classrooms. And when we ask the teachers, why don't you have the proper classroom management? Usually what they would say is, we're not allowed to use the cane anymore. We're not allowed to hit them. And I said, there's so many other correct ways to punish a child without necessarily inflicting harm or injury on the child. So it's trying to achieve that balance. We're not saying don't punish. What we're saying is that there is a right way to punish. So what I have found out over time is that people have been told, do not use the cane, do not hit a child, do not use use words that could be psychologically damaging on the child. But what we have failed to do, what the school communities, what parents have not been taught, is what is now the options. What are the options that we now have? What are now the means? What are the strategies that can be? Because these behaviors generally, occur. How can we address these behaviors using the right means? So this book came out of that deep need within me to correct what I feel, it's a wrong, and it's abuse against children. It's basically looking at the fact that children do not necessarily have to be subjected to aversive means of punishment as a way of managing their behaviors. So many people thought that my first published book will be on special needs children. As a special needs advocate, as one who advocates for children on the autism spectrum, a lot of people thought my first book would be about autism. And I would say this is a deliberate act not to publish a book about autism, because a child is a child, every time. The same behaviors you would see with amongst children with special needs is the same behaviors you will see amongst children who are neurotypical, and even in the general population. So I wanted to look at behaviors not necessarily as, challenging behaviors not necessarily as what only children with special needs engage in. But every child would have a period, that might be of concern to either the parents or the teachers, one way or the other, not just individuals with special needs. However, that doesn't really take away from the fact that a lot of individuals on the autism spectrum and with other forms of disabilities or special needs diagnoses are exempted from schools as a result of their challenging behaviors. So the book is saying help that child by looking at the child, not just the child, look at the environment, help that child by learning skills, either as a parent or as a teacher, as an educator. The book is presenting a shift, from looking at these behaviors as a fault, or as a flaw, from the angle of the child, instead of actually looking at the environmental factors that could be responsible for those behaviors or that are maintaining the behaviors. We're not looking at the fact that we need to also improve on our skills, for example. We're not also looking at the fact that we need to be able to modify our environment to fit the needs of each child. And that's what this book is really looking at. So when I was done writing the book, the book was already in the market, at least it was already selling internationally. I took another look at the book and I said, I think we need to have a workbook, because I don't just want it to be seen as just another book. I want it to be seen as a document, basically a working document, that a parent can sit down, go back, reanalyze the present situation and be able to, come together and say, what are the skills I have to address this particular behavior? What aspects of the environment do I need to change? So the workbook is there to provide parents with a guide to how they would think and assess these behaviors, know when to call in a professional, know what to discuss with the professionals, know how to even discuss with the professionals. So the workbook is there to provide that guide for the parents and for the teachers to be able to use the information that the book provides. So Help That Child is not just a book, it is a movement. You can be a part of this by becoming an advocate. You can, be trained. You can become a trainer to train others on, how to help others. You can become, a teen mentor. There's a strong need for mentors for teenagers, people who would stand, and ensure that, they adopt a teenager, adopt a child, and ensure that they become, responsible adults in the future. You can, join the movements by providing, buying the book and ensuring that it's spread amongst teachers. It's donated for free to teachers, to educators, to parents. You can sponsor a training. You can actually hold a training in your own living room. You can, work in your religious sector. You can work, in the church. We can have seminars and symposiums. We can, have parenting talks. So there's a lot to be done, but we just all need to help that child. My name is Daisy Jonathan. I am a certified educator and a school proprietress. I own and run Pleasant Places schools in Port Harcourt and Lekki, as well as Pleasant Places therapy centers. I am a board certified cognitive specialist. I am an applied behavior analyst, also a qualified autism services provider, and an advanced certified autism specialist. I work with individuals with different abilities and different needs. I am particularly passionate about working with children of all needs and ages, from birth to when they run into adulthood through teenage years. I provide trainings, support, counseling, coaching, and psychosocial support to parents and teachers to be able to, perform their roles in the lives of the children that they work with. I am a teen mentor, and I run the Ability Bible School, where I use the faith-based approach to work with individuals with needs and their families to understand the faith-based perspective to addressing challenges and behaviors generally. Very importantly, I am a mother to 3 lovely children and a wife to a fabulous young man.
Everybody lend a hand, save the world.